Welcome to the Sankofa Ancestor Shrine, where, every week, we invite spiritual Black folk to reconnect with our ancestors as we journey through the crossroads. Please consider donating through patreon.com/Sankofa Shrine. Ancestors, we ask you to help us understand the new knowledge we gain from seeing the world through indigenous African spiritual eyes. Help us to know which traditions to keep and which to modify for our current situations. Give us strength and protection as we attempt to find our path, stay safe, and not only survive, but thrive in these difficult times and those that are coming ahead. Ashe. All right, let's start with 3 deep cleansing breaths.
Great divine moot, we, your daughters, are in need of healing. So we ask that you heal us with your elements, air, fire, water, earth.
A natural mood, a natural mood, a natural mood, a natural mood, nude mood, mba, nude mood, mba, nude mood, mba, nude mood, mba, a natural mood, a natural mood, a natural mood, a natural mood, in bed head mood, in bed head moot, nef. In bed head moot, nef. In bed head moot, nef. A natural mood, a natural mood, a natural mood, a natural mood. Sekamet sat ra, sekamet sat ra, sekamet sat ra, sekamet sat ra. A natural mood, a natural mood, a natural mood, a natural
Hello, welcome to the Sankofa Ancestor Shrine. I'm your host, Sacred Woman Practitioner Tatami, and today we are going to talk about the weight of wisdom, the weight of, gaining this spiritual knowledge and how it translates to the actual world you're living in. You're trying to connect with Mother Nature, but you find so much travesty all around you. There's only so much you can really do in your own home, because on the news you can see so many things, on documentaries, right? In documentaries we can see so many things are going wrong. So it can be really hard. We find ourselves pulled in so many directions. We're also find ourselves, worried about the types of food we can get, how other people are reacting to us, and really trying to find a sense of balance in all of this. So that is our topic for today. I want to give a special thank you to the patrons on Patreon. Thank you for sticking around even as I struggle in this COVID era to make sure that I can keep going with things. For me, it's really been a struggle to realize as businesses aren't as available as they usually are. They're not as available in those after hours 24-hour customer service. A lot of places close at 5 p.m. now. They don't open until 10 p.m. 10 a.m. So it's been a kind of a learning curve for me, as I'm used to, being on the poorer side. So I need to, when I want something, I need to have it then. And so having to postpone things days, it's a lot, but I'm managing, and I'm doing a little better every week with that. So I think we're going to be continuing to get more and more back on schedule. So I wanted to get into our talk right away. When you start your journey of spiritual, indigenous, African traditional religion, or pagan, generally, whatever, a lot of people practice, a lot of Black people, a lot of other types of indigenous, a lot of white people. There's a whole group steadily growing of people who are adhering to the nature-based pagan ways. Pagan typically just means you are not following the Abrahamic faiths of, Christianity, Islam, Catholicism, and so we're doing these alternative beliefs, so-called, more, I would like to say, original, traditional beliefs. And you start learning things that you've never really learned before. You've not had as much access to. Maybe you can think back to when that was for you, and maybe it's right now for you. Maybe it's a new journey that you're exploring. So it's a path that often we're not really previously aware of, or we're aware of it, but we're not really aware that we're aware. We find ourselves drawn to certain symbolism, drawn to certain art, drawn to certain music, drawn to certain stories. But we're not really quite aware of why we like it. We just kind of think we have a thing for folklore or, similar. So it's a path that once we're open to it, understand it, and want to walk down it, we have to come to grips pretty early on that it does walk in a lot of ways opposite to what Christian beliefs of worship, Western beliefs of community, and elitist, Eurocentric beliefs of existing and interacting with the world are. There's still elements of trying to work towards certain good paths, but we find ourselves not really placing ourselves as the ruler of the land, but really as somebody who works with the land, who caretakes, who wants to keep everything working and going smoothly, as it were, and doesn't quite find ourselves wanting to change things, right? I think a good example of this is the idea, I want to say it was the early 1800s or 1900s. They were filling in the wetlands and the marshlands, and the belief was they were making it better. Turns out that those are really important parts of our ecosystem. And right now, as it were, the United States has lost, I'm pretty sure, over half of the wetlands that we once had, which is sad, right? Now we protect the wetlands, but it's this, kind of Christian belief of you're owed it, you're the owner of it, you're the ruler of it. And so when you're coming into these other religions, you really get a paradigm shift, and it doesn't go with how you're your society works as a whole. It's not a very communal society. It's not a society that works together very much. And it's certainly one that's about, establishing dominance, taking what's yours, and often just working by yourself to do so, or using others to do so, but for the gain of yourself personally, mostly. So here we find ourselves able to make symbols of our world and see the symbols our world presents to us. We can know that in this religion, we don't often find that man is inherently cruel. We don't think that, the best that community has to offer is to leave huge portions of the community hungry, without care, without education, without support, suffering, or, simply without work. Simply, we understand that there's always something to be done, that there's always something that we can be building towards, working towards, progressing towards. So the spirit and nature are infused in everything we do, and we can see how it's infused in everything we have, from our books to, our furniture, to the things we do outside and the ways we do our rituals. And we all connect with this planet, Mother Earth, right? In the beginning, it's a very joyous time when we get all this information and we start to grow. It's very exciting and joyful. There's something exhilarating about gaining the access to this unknown, especially an unknown that's a part of your bloodline, that's a part of who you are and what you've been about. We can almost forget the society at large, especially as we delve deeper into our own groups, our own friends, our own books and reading and music. We can forget how the society at large really does impact our spirituality, how it can be a challenge to be pagan in a society that has those Christian, Abrahamic undercurrents in just about everything that occurs, right? Even from school as a child, we are doing the Pledge of Allegiance under God. There are prayers, there are statues, there are figures. There's the fact that we haven't had a president yet who doesn't have these Abrahamic faiths. So, the way our world is set up is very unnatural in a lot of ways, but it's also unnatural just in the form of trying to do an indigenous lifestyle or traditions in any way. It didn't really meld those two types of living together very well. It's very much skewed against indigenous traditional lifestyles or nature-centric lifestyles. And so eventually when you start to realize this, and it happens more and more often, that you feel very out of place, that you feel like you're fighting upstream a lot of the time, that you feel like you can't trust people who you once thought you could trust because they feel like they can't trust you because you're pagan. And so there comes a weight that settles in, and you see the way that those who practice African traditional religion are equated with the devil, denied opportunities like housing and work, and just generally even perhaps bullied online. So when we start to want to connect with the land but have to learn from scratch because in the cities, versus the open field, because of the fact that most of the land is covered, and you have to be really particular about what you do, and you have to really learn to read the energy of your city and learn to connect with it, wherein it's often a lot easier when you're just out in a forest somewhere in a national park. You can really gain that connection in a rushing river. It's a little bit more difficult for a lot of people when they're in the actual city to understand that rhythm and learn to connect with their city at large, their home within that city, their larger space around them. So we realize the options we have in the grocery store aren't healthy. They're not abundant. They're not affordable. The country is being led by people with very different beliefs than us, like I said. And often these people aren't actually Christian at the core of things, or they've come to a place where they equate their Christianity to their white supremacy, which is a whole nother story altogether. But we realize that our cities have none of that sense of community, and that we are living just a very, very different lifestyle in different times than our ancestors did. So the weight of this wisdom, I don't think, will disappear in our lifetimes, probably not. But it is something that while we understand it, we can absolutely allow our ancestors to help us mitigate within our minds and even carry us when needed. They absolutely understand this because they have seen these roadblocks before themselves. So we are capable of practicing our religions, and bit by bit through normalization, building our own communities and, revealing them, as well as keeping certain things sacred and building with each other, passing on this knowledge to our children, to our trusted friends and family. We can begin to change this narrative that is so dangerous and damaging to us. And changing the narrative within ourselves is definitely that first step, that narrative within our family at large. As we grow and build communities, this will help each other as we continue to create our art, continue to create our books, our music, our temples, shrines, different places to connect, pray, and grow together, different pages like the Instagram Spiritual Black Girls, and, the different Facebook groups that are out there. Wherever you are, you can connect with the Mother Earth, find and make yourself those sacred spaces, and become aware of and understanding of the spirit and energy of your city. So we can sing over and speak blessings to our and pray before we eat the food we make and that we buy. We can learn to use the wisdom of wellness and cooking etched within our bloodlines, and make those better choices about fueling our body altars, that sacred space within us. We also have books such as Queen Afua's, right, where she will show us and speak to us about, those dried bean goods, those things where we're making those whole foods from scratch, which can help make it cheaper, and also are things that are not as expensive because they aren't necessarily a fresh produce. With our own community activism and involvement with the politics and the needs of our community around us, specifically, nonprofits, but also our own forms of volunteering and effort within our communities, we also do make that difference. Supporting each other makes that difference. Supporting one person makes a difference, because when you're helping build up one person, that's that person, even if only one day, one time they feel the effort that they can help somebody else, we've done it. We've created something, we've built something. So we build those communities with each other every day online, and these connections are definitely spilling out into the real world every day, into the physical world, should I say, every day. So I have a dream for our own shrine as well. One day we will be at the Sankofa Ancestor Shrine with many of us together. Definitely after coronavirus dies down a little bit, hopefully we'll be able to get that under control as a country, and we'll be able to build this together as well. Have a space where there are trees, where there's, beauty around us, and it's just a perfect environment for us to be together in the physical realm as well. So that's my dream, where that comes in. But I know there's so many other dreams that people have. They have dreams for boutiques, for wellness centers, for retreats, for schools for the children, for, different things like printing presses for books, statues, those types of things. So, we have a lot of dreams that are definitely going to all come together and really build this. We are in a time where African traditional religion is really rising up, and so many are taking a step forward to make those concrete things available for us all. So as we work on what matters to us spiritually and communally, we build something in our own lifetime for the future generations, as well as prepare ourselves to be mentors, elders, and eventually willing to join the ancestors, right? This is why, even though the knowledge of our ancestral ways can make us see the world with different eyes, and we aren't sure how to handle it at first, it's still worth knowing and walking the path of your bloodline. May your ancestors and spirit guides be with you at every crossroads, and I will see you next time. Thank you for watching.